Okay, so we're going to discuss starting the bridge truss for anybody that feels very new to Inventor or just needs a little extra help getting started. One of the key things is when you start the sketch, making sure that it's dimensioned so that it can't move. Let's go ahead and start. Oh, I meant to start new file. You're going to open Inventor and go to new, and we're going to do a new part file. Okay, first, if you haven't started anything yet, you need to click Start 2D Sketch and choose a work plane. Okay, I'm not going to use the origin, although the origin is good to use, but that way my lines aren't hidden amongst the X and Y axis so you can see them better. And that's going to cause me to have to do one other thing. So let me just make a point first instead of even a line segment so you can see that's kind of representing the origin I might use otherwise. And if I make a point, it's movable. And down here, Inventor tells you that 2 dimensions are needed. It sees that I've created geometry that is still free to move. I have a couple options. I can use the dimension tool and say the distance from here to the origin, a point I can reference that's already fixed, is set. And if I do that, it can't slide horizontally, and you see now that it says 1 dimension needed. That's the vertical distance, so I could now, instead of pulling this way to get the horizontal distance, I can come between these and come horizontally to get the vertical distance. And I really don't care what it is, so I can just accept what it currently is. Right click and say OK to turn the dimension tool off. You'll see it unshade. And now you see down here it says fully constrained. Our goal is that our sketch is fully constrained. The reason why we want our sketch to be fully constrained is as we walk through this process of building the bridge, especially when you start applying dimensions, like trying to get these outer edges to be dimensioned into place. If the earlier geometry has not been fully dimensioned and locked in place, it might move on you instead of the new things that you're trying to get to move into position. Okay, so that's why it's really critical that we are dimensioning as we go. Another option with the first point, just to show, if I delete those, it's back to 2 dimensions needed, is I have geometric constraints up here, one of which is the lock button. And if I simply lock a point, it locks it. So it can't move horizontally or vertically, so it really just takes care of those 2 things. So it is locked, says fully constrained, and then I'm going to begin. Okay, so from this being my bottom left corner, I'm going to come up, and if I move vertically, you can see I see the 90 degree already, and I see the little symbol. I can't move my mouse, otherwise it's going to move on me, but you see the little gray box with the vertical lines and then the slashes. That is the symbol for vertical. So I'm currently vertical, and the distance is highlighted, so I can type in the distance right now, 0.25, and I'm just going to hit enter to accept that. Okay, and the 90 degrees is there. It's already locked vertical. You can see that constraint. All right, and then I'm just going to rough out. I'm watching the distance. You know, I know my whole bridge is about 4 inches tall, so I'll just kind of come up here. I'm going to come back and dimension it later. So I'll click here. Basically, I'm going to get the rough outline. I do want to try to come horizontal. My top is about 8 inches long, right? Because I came into from both sides with the angle. Come down here. I do want to, I want to align to that top point and then do that little vertical 1/4 inch again. So it'll actually give me that. I am going to have to dimension it. Come down here. I get the dotted line, lets me know I'm aligned, and then I'm going to come back here and make sure I'm locked to the original point. Okay, so let's use our dimension tool now. Things that we know. We want this line to that corner to be 2 inches. I want the distance from that line to this corner to be, it'd be 10 inches. And then I want the overall, so from here to here, to be 12 inches. I want my overall height from here to here to be 4 inches. Okay, and it says 1 dimension needed. It looks like it's this. I can kind of try to click and see what's movable. Yep, okay. This was not constrained to being a 1/4 inch tall, even though it gave me that dotted line letting me know when I made that point I was aligned to it. It wasn't locked in, that forced to stay. So I'm going to use my dimension tool again and say that that corner to the bottom has to be a 1/4 inch. And now I've got my fully constrained message, which is good. So that means anything you try to grab and move, it won't move. That's what we want. So from there, we're going to use the offset tool. Offset in exactly a 1/4 inch. Okay. And from there, we're going to make points for where our joints are supposed to be. So I'm going to use the point tool. And I know I had a vertical member coming from that corner. Basically, we're going to draw lines where we want our members to be, and then we'll make the thickness of the members later. So I want a member to click to there. Now that point is still going to be movable. For me, I know I wanted one at the midpoint. If you hover along a segment with the point tool, you'll eventually find the middle. It lights up as a green dot. You also see, look down and right from my cursor, and you see the little gray box with a dot to a line with a red dot on it. That lets me know I'm finding the middle versus just getting the point on the line here. So that symbol changes when I'm at the midpoint. So I'm going to click there, and I'm going to find this. Now, even though I've got the dotted line telling me that I'm aligned to it, I can still move that point off of that. So, and I see 2 dimensions needed. This one's stuck, above here stuck, but this is stuck on the line, so I can't move it vertically, but it can move horizontally. So this is one of the dimensions. I need a horizontal distance here, and the other one is this one. It can move horizontally, but not vertically. Okay, it's stuck on the line. Now, instead of using the dimension tool, I can actually use the vertical align tool, and I can say I want that point to stay vertical to this. Now this will move here. This won't move to it because this point is stuck. Remember, we fully dimensioned everything before these points, so I know this point here is the only thing I can move. So that slid over. I'll repeat again with the tool still currently turned on. I'm going to go here to here. That moves. Okay. Now I need a point up here. I don't know exactly where. And same thing down here, right? I do want them to be vertically aligned. Same thing over here. Well, you know what? My distance are going to be slightly different than the exact 2 inches, 2 inches. They'll be close, but slightly smaller. So I'm going to figure out what is the total distance from here to the middle, or here to here, same thing. It doesn't really matter. I think in my earlier video I did it down below, but we're going to figure that out. These points are stuck, so that message is just saying that, hey, you're about to create a dimension that you can't adjust. It's a driven dimension, so all it can do is tell you what it is, but you can't change it. Okay, other geometry that we already created has defined what this is going to be. All right, but that's fine. That's all I want to do is kind of measure that to know what it is. Now I want to make the dimension from here to here be exactly half of that. So the dimension tool is actually a calculator, so you can even type in 3.85 divided by 2, and it'll do the math for you. All right, so I can copy that, basically just kind of mimic it over here. It should be symmetrical, so I need the 1.925, and then I'll use my vertical align tool with this point to this point. That one's stuck because of the dimensions, so this one's the one that has to move. Same thing here. I'll use this point and this point. The bottom one's the one that's still free to move, and look, I'm back to being fully constrained. All right, so then if you watched the other video, you'll see that then I came in here and I used my line tool, created lines connecting all these points, and these represent the centers of my members. Okay, and then let's see, I think I went this way. Oop, I don't know if I got that constraint. I definitely want to click when I got that green dot, but yep, that wasn't going where I want. I want to be to right there. You can zoom in and make sure you're getting the intersection. All right, so I think it went there, there, from here to here. Is that everything? That's about it. All right, now I selected all of these. I right-clicked and I made them all construction lines, so they're dashed. That way, just remember, they're not really edges. They are my members. Now, in the other video, if this has been helping you and you didn't use the other video yet, just fast forward the other video to here, because I did start to show in detail how to create the members around that and get to the extrusion. So with this and the end of the next video, you should be in good shape.